Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code Hawkeye and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, and the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matters more than ever. Remember to use code Hawkeye and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Place your money line, prop, or parlay bets with the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Iowa only. New customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
No music, no intro. Dread it. Run from it. Destiny arrives. All the same. Week 1, we made it, I guess. Can't hide from it now. Like, in what, Thursday, Friday, 4 days, the New Orleans Saints will be playing football at 1:25 Pacific Standard Time for the almost literally the entire world to see the Saints take on the Bucs in the late afternoon game. And Ryan and I were doing our first week 1 preview show. Today was the first day that the team released their injury report. So we're going to break down the game, the matchups, like things we're looking forward to see. And how do you feel, man? It's football. It's officially football season. Like, how you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. It's like I'm just, I'm ready to watch, just football in general, not just the Saints. But I mean, it's just such a fascinating season as a Saints fan because, maybe it was last year. I kind of thought it was maybe last year, but this year is like this is the last ride.
This is it.
We heard Drew Brees today. He was like, "I'm on borrowed time. I'm just about to let it loose." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can tell he's in that mindset of like, This is it. I have nothing to lose. I'm on borrowed time. What am I supposed to do? I'm just gonna go out there and play, let the chips fall where they may. You know what I'm saying? Because he's had his great career. He has all the stats. He's first ballot Hall of Fame. Nobody can take that away from him. He wants that ring, and the team is tuned up for it. Like the team is ready. Like so you just gotta do it, man. So I'm ready. I'm just interested to see what plays out and amongst this whole COVID cloud hanging over, the whole season. It's just crazy.
I think, and maybe this is my optimism peeking out, but as things go along, and we might not know until the season starts, but I think my feeling is that I truly feel like there's going to be a full NFL season played. Like, if you would have asked me this a couple of months ago, I was like, man, they're going to get 1 game, 2 games, 3 games into it, and the whole season can be a wrap. Now, I'm not so sure. Now, obviously, we saw it with Major League Baseball that, they started and everything was fine for a while, and then outbreaks were happening and things like that. And I don't know, what route the NFL is going to go. The good news is they did extend the daily testing, because I think that's huge. Like, if you're trying to have sports played during the pandemic, the fact, like, to me, like, you have to have daily testing. Like, that should be like
that was the major reason it worked during camp, because of the daily testing. So, keep it going as long as they can. I think if they keep doing that, yes, players will pop up with COVID, but at least you'll be able to catch it and control it immediately.
For sure.
Instead of, it getting out of hand, and you got like a whole quarterback room with COVID-19. You know what I'm saying?
I will say that there was the whole issue for the testing lab that some teams were using in New Jersey, and they had like 50 or 44 plus false positives.
Yeah.
Man, listen, if that happens during a season, rough. Because like as a team, even though it's a false positive, like you don't know that it's a false positive until you get the subsequent test. So like,
and the thing is, false positives are just a reality of medical testing. So it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen. You just don't want it to happen at that level where it's 50 people and stuff like that. So
anyway,
it's
so we'll see how the season plays out. Like I said, I'm more not positive, but I'm more optimistic that the season will play out. But I mean, we're talking about a pandemic, so we truly don't know.
Yeah.
So let's start with the injury report from the Saints side of things. So maybe it's because we know this team so well. Maybe because we know Sean Payton so well. But when Sean said that, Ruiz is going to be back, like it was nothing serious. And then he just kept missing training camp, like days after days after days. Like these are valuable reps. He's a rookie. Like no matter how good he was in college, he's getting ready to play his first NFL game. So I tweeted a couple of days ago, I said, man, he's going to be a DMP come Wednesday. Yep. Sure enough, DMP. So that doesn't surprise me. And we'll get into like how, what our concerns are about the game. Because I think our biggest concern is the cohesion or lack thereof there may be when it comes to the offensive line. But the big story today that took over Saints Twitter is the boy, two first, DMP, elbow.
Man, Jean-Pierre Paul out here with a whole nub of a hand.
Nub of a hand. He had a car accident where his neck where he couldn't play he's still a beast of a pass rusher.
And you don't get your goofy head ass out there, boy. I mean, look, I'm just playing. I don't know how serious his elbow injury is. I'm sure it's pretty serious, but it's just like another thing, and it's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he did it to himself or he's soft or anything like that. It's just like come on, man. It's like you buying a Lamborghini. You finally win the lotto. You win a couple of bucks, and you want your dream car. You buy your Lamborghini, and every week, it's something. The engine's acting up, or the brakes, or the transmission, or something. It's like you just kind of lose. You're not even excited about the car anymore. It's like, what the hell did I buy? You know what I'm saying? That's just where it is with those two first. And I'm hoping for him, man. It's like, come on, man. Like, we want to see you succeed, and we know you are talented and all that stuff. But I just hoping he just needs to move past these little nagging injuries, man. It's like, come on, dude.
It's crucial. It's like this is such an important season for him.
Hey, I can't hear you, Adam.
I just said it's crucial because it's such an important season for him.
Yeah, you might need to adjust your headsets because you're real low.
What about now?
No, it's still low.
Oh? Hold on. Is it still super low?
It's a little louder, but still a little low.
So we've talked about it before of how this is such a crucial season for him. Like, this is a crossroads. Like we talked about this last episode. Like, the Saints weren't trying to go all out to get Jadeveon Clowney for no reason. Like, there's a reason to it.
but I understand the frustration. I do. And we hope that this is just like, it's just Wednesday. So there's still, Thursday, Friday, in terms of injury report and what have you. And he might come off of it. He might be an LP, limited practice. He might become a full, but it is frustrating. And I won't say it's annoying, but it's just like, it feels like it's one thing after another after the team invested so many, a lot of resources in him. And like you said, it has nothing to do with him, but it's just, this comes with being a player that the Saints traded up for. And, up to now, he hasn't really lived up to those expectations.
Right. And ultimately, it becomes a part of his evaluation because injuries, health is a part of the evaluation. When NFL teams write up a scouting report, there's a whole section on injury. And if a player has a long list of injuries and missing time, they'll dock a few evaluation points, which is why they were looking at Clowney. That's the reason. It's not that he's a bad player or has shown bad tape. He's shown good tape when he's been healthy and played. It's just that when you add in the injury component, which is a variable that you just can't deny, you have to add that in. That's why they were looking at Clowney, at least on the short term, and that's why, there's frustration, which I'm sure there's frustration in the building, because they want to see him, they want to see him on the field. It's not that you're frustrated at him as if he's purposely hurting himself or something. You're just frustrated as where he's at, So we'll see. I mean, he could be back next week and everything will be fine. It's just another one of those things you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, come on, we needed you, bro.
And then the punter that they kept on the active roster was a DMP, and then he got moved to IR. I think it's one of those, good old-fashioned old Saints situation, stash a player on IR. I also think it potentially does signal like this is the last year for Thomas Morstead, that they're carrying up, a punter on their team. Like, they obviously didn't want to lose him. They're like, there's a reason for that.
Exactly. It's COVID-19 backup and having a future punter that you really like from everything I've heard from camp. He was killing it in camp, So, obviously Thomas Morstead is probably still good, but he has a cap number that's been increasing. He costs a little coin, and no team likes to pay a punter a lot of money. Punters and kickers, they just don't like paying them a lot of money. It just is what it is. Even for, I know what Saints fans love Thomas Morstead. I love him, but, time comes up, man. Him and Drew are the only players left from the Super Bowl team.
That's it, man. Flipping over to, did I miss anybody or am I forgetting one more player? Oh, Dwayne Washington, but he's on the COVID list.
Yeah.
Flipping over to the Bucs, the big news today that's causing like frantic and, frenzy and fancy football losers' minds is Mike Evans didn't practice today. He's dealing with a soft hamstring tissue issue. He was put on IR, last season because of hamstring tissue issues. DMP and basically Bruce Arians said it's going to be a game time decision if he's able to play or not. I think I'll say this, and man, I just sounded like Sean Payton when I said that. Ever since the whole DeMarcus Ware situation in 2009, when he was carried out, parted out, looked like his football career may have been over. And this man raised up like the Undertaker, and he played that Saturday and was wreaking havoc. Like, fool me once, shame on me. So, any injury situation, I think like Sean Payton, like that's never going to happen to him again. Because I remember back then, like Sean was like killing Herman in the bed, like, oh, Ware's not playing this week, like.
Shit, we good. Like, we don't even need to tip. We don't even need to tip on Bushrod's side. We good, baby.
So obviously, if for whatever reason, if Mike Evans isn't able to play, that's huge. I know Saints fans kind of don't. I don't know. I get that he's a division rival, and Marshawn has had really good games against him, guarding him, but he's still an elite wide receiver, and I feel like at times like Saints fans try to diminish how good Mike Evans is. Me and you saw it in person when our last Saints game we went to it together.
Right.
So if he doesn't play, that completely changes. Obviously, it changes things for Tampa Bay, but for the Saints, it also changes things for them in terms of, okay, if Evans isn't playing, do you move Marshawn to guard Chris Goodwin, and you have him shadow Chris Goodwin, and then you just let Janoris just kind of just not free guard whoever's moved up to wide receiver 2, whether that's Scotty Miller or whoever it is. So it's big if Mike Evans doesn't play.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge, but I think they approach it as if he's going to play. I still kind of think he might play. I'm leaning that way because, I mean, a hamstring, I just think they're going to shoot it up. They're going to let him rest all week. They're going to try to shoot it up Saturday, trying to get it, trying to get him ready. And even if he's not 100%, they're going to at least get him out there to run a few routes. So, I'm just expecting them to play. I guess the question is, will Marshawn and Jenkins play sides, or will they do the whole matchup thing with Lattimore and try to just let him shadow Mike Evans? I think that's going to be interesting since it's been a shortened off season. Will they kind of try to simplify the defense a little bit just to make sure they're just playing a good defense instead of, throwing in all the trickery and the matchups and the shadowing and all that stuff. I get it,
and I get it because I think it's a great point because no disrespect to Eli Apple, but if Mike Evans is on the right side of the field before the Saints were able to claim Janoris Jenkins,
smoke.
Like you're not comfortable with that matchup. Like you're just not. So it explains why. But now I think like that's a great point because with Janoris, like if Mike Evans is over there, you have, if you're DA, I feel like you have confidence that Janoris can be able to handle his own. Maybe not shut him down, but he can still, hold his own against Mike Evans. I get the sense that Marshawn takes his matchup with Mike Evans personal.
I agree.
He takes it very personal. There's something like they don't like each other. Like it's not like they just don't. So
did you see the NFL 100?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. It's personal. It
is. It's obvious that it's personal as well. So I think Marshawn basically goes to DA and says, "Listen, man, if he's playing, I'm taking him all over the field." And I think DA would be comfortable and confident enough to allow that to happen. So I think that if Mike Evans does play, I think Marshawn's gonna shadow him all over the field. That's
definitely possible.
Yeah. So we gotta hit on the biggest worry. I think it's a question that Fresh Logic on Saints Twitter asked, like going into week 1, what's the biggest worry that you have as a fan? And both me and you are in lockstep with this. It's the offensive line, man.
Yeah.
If you think the last numbers we had about the Saints playing, the offensive line was worked all game.
Think of the biggest losses last year. What was the main reason?
O-line.
That's it.
O-line.
Drew getting his thumb killed versus the Rams, the Falcons game, the Vikings playoff game, and what other game did the Saints lose last year? Lost the games.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's always the O-line.
It's the key to the offense. So that's major key. Like how will the offensive line play? The last time we seen them, they were getting work. They haven't had any cohesive training camp because pretty much each one has been out at some point during camp. So, it's just a question of how they're going to come together. You're going to have Nick Easton playing. He's a guy that has experience, so we'll see how he does. McCoy's going to be back at center, so that's good. You have continuity there. Pete, my man Pete, slipped up Pete, back in his spot, Armstead. So it's Ramczyk. It's not like you're putting your field in a bad offensive line. They should be fine.
They should
but
be.
It's just about playing well. You could be talented all you want, but you have to play well against this competition. And
that's the key. And the way that I look at it is that if you go back to that Vikings game, the Saints front office, coaches, and scouting identified that Larry Warford was part of the problem. Now, everyone had a bad day at the office that game, but they particularly singled him out and said that he was. This is the way I look at it. That he was a problem. They brought back Pete, which we've talked about this. We still don't completely understand, but they brought him back. And so the fix for the solution to the problem of it being Warford was we drafted an offensive line in the draft. He's not playing. Right. So you hope that the depth that they have with Easton, and he's gone in, he's played last season. I still think when he came in and played for Pete in the Vikings game, like he was holding his lunch better than Pete was, and I was very confused of why Peyton or the coaching staff put Pete back in the game when he was obviously hurt. Yeah. Didn't understand it. Didn't understand it.
I don't get it.
I don't want people who are diehard Saints, like this is not a homer podcast. We've been very open and honest with that. The Tampa Bay front seven got some dogs. Vita Vea, who his career started off kind of slow. I was a big fan of him coming out of Washington. He plays a very traditional nose tackle, just take up blockers, but he can change games. They got Vita Vea, Sack Barrett. I know that he didn't have success against the Saints last season, but he got 20 plus sacks, 18, I don't know. Yeah. A ridiculous number of sacks last season.
Like 19 and a half sacks. I mean,
that's ridiculous, bro. Like, I don't care what the competition is. That's ridiculous.
Cam Jordan has never done that.
They got JPP, who might be a T1000, but he still can rush the passer and rush it well. Yeah. So that's defensive line. And then
Sue. And the Dominican
Sue. Completely forgot about Sue. Like, Peyton said it, and I don't know if he said it in jest today, but he said that the Bucs run defense is so good that getting a 3-yard gain against them is equivalent to getting like a 50-yard run. And I'm like, okay, that's a little hyperbole, but okay.
But we last year we played them at the beginning, like the first half of the season, but the last half of the season, their run defense really was like crazy good. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I've never been a believer in defenses carrying over to the next season. It's just a complete restart. Like, none of that matters. What you did last season, it just doesn't matter. Like,
so, and then moving to the linebacker spot, they got Levante David, they got Devin White. Like, they have talent in the front seven. I think so. I've said that the O-line is the key. When you look at the weakness at the Bucs on defense, it's obviously their secondary. They got, like, both Drew and even Teddy Bridgewater attacked that secondary numerous times last season.
They had no answers for Mike Thomas.
None. Carlton Davis.
Most people didn't, but they really didn't have answers for Mike Thomas.
Carlton Davis and what's his name? Bunt sounds like a bunt cake. There you go, Sean Murphy Bunting. Like, they're the corners that Drew's gonna see. At safety, they got Antoine Winfield Jr., who I was a big fan of him as a prospect coming out. The son of, like, he plays very similar to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They have different roles, but how they play is very similar.
And he's a ball hawk too.
Yes. And then that other safety, they got Jordan Whitehead. So I know, man, I know how Sean Payton is. Like, when he sees a team that has weakness in the secondary, typically his mind is, I'm going to pass the fucking ball all over them. Like, until they stop it. And like, we've seen games where that is the case. Yeah. And like, either the offensive line doesn't block well enough, or the secondary, plays better than they're expected. And I don't want to say he forgets about the run, but he kind of neglects it. And I could see like week one being like him licking his chops, like, I'm about to roast these boys. Like, I got Emmanuel Sanders now too. Like, I'm about to go ham. And Drew throw for 40 attempts in week one. And I don't think that that's conducive potentially to winning, especially with the question marks that they may have in terms of how the offensive line may be.
Yeah, it's interesting how he's going to approach it. You just got to watch Sean Payton, because he's talking up the run defense. And on one hand, I could hear him, I could see him shying away from the run and just focusing on the pass. But on the other hand, I could see him looking at that as a challenge and like seeing what that run defense look like. Let's put our dogs back there and see if we can handle AK and Murray. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting how I approach, but I think he is going to try to test that secondary, because it is the most obvious glaring weakness, at least on paper. So he's definitely going to test it to see how they react. I guess the question is, like you said, can they block it up? And that's just the case pretty much with most Saints games. If the offensive line plays well, typically the offense entirely plays well. The passing game, the run game, usually everything works. That's why that's why the offensive line is just so important. It's a boring position to watch, for a lot of people, but it's the major key, man. So I think that's the whole key to the game, is the energy, the cohesion, how they come out. Are they beating guys off the ball and taking them down the field? Is Teron Armstead getting down the field on screens, taking guys out? Pete, is he moving well? That's going to be the ultimate questions. Getting their hands on linebackers, that's going to be the ultimate game within the game that I think will decide how the offense plays. Other than that, on the flip side is how the defense handles Tom Brady and their weapons.
Man, let's talk about it. It's for everything that all throughout training camp, it's been secondary's been on point. Defense has been ahead of the offense. We gonna see on Sunday.
We gonna see.
we gonna see, because I get it. Tom Brady didn't have, at times he played poor last season. I watched quite a few Patriots games. Like, he did not look good in spurts at all last season.
Worst I've seen Brady since probably 2009, maybe. I don't know.
Everything looked off, just off. But I don't want to diminish that, because he's still going. He has a team, an offense that has, if he plays, Mike Evans, we talk, Chris Goodwin, Gronk, Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, Scotty Miller, who, I don't know if a lot of fans know about him, but it seems like a, type of guy that Tom Brady is going to love. Gave Chauncey Gardner-Johnson fits last season for a long game that was nearly a touchdown. Like, he has weapons. So the defense and the secondary is going to be tested. We haven't even touched about running backs. Like, they have Tampa Bay does have a plethora of them. They got Leonard Fournette now. They got, Ronald Jones. And they got LaShawn McCoy. So obviously, LaShawn McCoy's past his prime. Ronald Jones has had flashes, but he still hasn't put it together. And Leonard Fournette is, should have been playing, 20 years ago, but they're still good players.
Yeah.
So is there any matchup that you're looking at that's like that, a key of how, what you're looking at from on the defensive side of things?
Well, I mean, when you look at Brady, just even when he was great, his game is mostly in the middle of the field. So the key to Brady has always been,
Are you going to hit me with a Dan Hansis quote?
Say what you said?
You going to hit me with the Dan Hansis quote?
Pretty much. Take away the middle of the field and get pressure on Brady up the middle. Like, move him off the spot. It's cliche and it's like boring.
Also, it's also the same way that, of how you want to stop Drew Brees too. Like
exactly. I mean, these are, these are ancient quarterbacks pretty much these days. This is not Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson, guys that could buy time and be in the pocket for 3, 4, 5 seconds and beat coverage. He has to get the ball out quickly. So the game will be, again, on the offensive line versus the defensive line. Will the Saints be able to get pressure, outside pressure and inside pressure, to move Brady off the spot? Because he does not move well at all. I wish I could find like a stat, but if you watched him last year, when he was moved, he was bad. Like
bad, bro.
At all. Yeah, like he was not good. So that's going to be key. But they do have the weapons for the quick game.
Yep.
So, I mean, let's just go down the line. Chris Goodwin, Bright, Gronk, of course. So I think the game was, even though we want to focus on Mike Evans if he plays, I don't think he's going to get like a ton of targets. Even if he was healthy, I don't think he's going to get a ton of targets, at least in this game. I think it's going to be a game between the hashes, and it's really going to be incumbent on the safeties, on the nickel cornerback, and the linebackers to really kind of make Brady hold that ball an extra half a click.
Yes.
Or 2 clicks, so the defensive line could, just kind of mess him up, because that's what the game is going to be. I don't think he's going to be attacking Marshawn Lattimore like crazy. He's going to throw the ball outside because you have to, and he's going to, try to take advantage of the weapons he has there. But the vast majority of the offense is going to happen in the middle of the field. So I think that's where the game is going to be played at.
It's a great point. And Bruce Arians spoke about it. Cam Jordan's going against, a rookie, a high first-round pick, and Tristan Wirfs, who's starting at right tackle for the Bucs. And, Bruce Arians basically said, like, we're going to have to, at points we're going to have to give him some help, but, other points he's going to have to block him. And, we've seen times when Cam Jordan has obliterated and embarrassed rookies or, offensive, right tackles. So, while the pressure of the middle is going to be key, just the fact that on certain plays that they may have to chip on Cam or, one of the tight ends, like it wouldn't shock me at all to see, Gronk's not the big hulking guy that he was, but, seeing him on that side to try to, chip and slow down Cam Jordan to give Wirfs some help, I think that's going to be a crucial role. And then I think it sounds weird to say, but I truly think the key player of the game is I think it's going to be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Like, I think because I think at certain points they're going to have him playing nickel, or he's going to be lined up probably going against Scotty Miller, who, if you read the reports from if you just read some of the observations from Tampa Bay training camp, like that was and that was Brady's guy in training camp. Like he developed a very big trust in him. Kind of sounds like similar to Julian Edelman, and I truly think that at times, CJ's going to be lined up on him. On other times, he's going to be lined up on one of the tight ends, whether that's Brait, whether that's Gronk. And I think that's going to be, you talked about the middle of the field. The player to me that's the key to that is a nickelback. And I think that is going to be, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. But I don't want to understate, and I know we've joked about it in the past, the fact that, we might only get week 1 out of him, but Alex Anzalone, when he plays and he's on the field, he brings an element to the linebacking position and to the defense in general, and just an element of speed that does not exist when he's hurt and he does not play.
Yeah, absolutely. So, him playing is going to be huge because he affects that key part of the field, that middle of the field, and a guy that can get, sideline to sideline quickly, along with Demario Davis. That's going to be huge. That's going to be very huge. And, it's going to be interesting, man, because, how C.J. Gardner-Johnson deals with the slot. When he has to cover the slot, you might see Miller there. You might see Chris Goodwin. Chris Goodwin lines up in the slot.
Yeah, he does. He lines up in the slot a lot.
And it's tough. Like that's a tough matchup.
It is.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm kind of just putting aside who's good, who's talented or whatever. We just got to realize this is the first NFL game of the season.
Yes.
So think about the first preseason game you see from the Saints, or think about week 1 of the Saints you've seen past couple of years. Usually the defense is playing a little soft. They don't tackle well. Like we look at the Texans games last year, even though we didn't win, even though we won, it was like Demario Davis's worst tackling game. Nobody tackled. Like the tackling was just awful. Years before that, the defense, Tampa Bay week 1, 2018, we were there for that. The defense. So I'm just, if the Saints start like that, it's going to be a long day. Like the defense, since they've shined all camp, they can't come in like they have to be physical at the point of attack. My question, I want to know what you think. It's just how do you think this whole Bruce Arians, Tom Brady thing blends together? Because they're pretty opposite as far as
polar opposites.
What they like to do. Yeah.
Tom Brady historically likes, not all the time, but not max protection, but he wants maybe more than one offensive lineman in protecting, or more than one tight end protecting. Short game, like you said, middle of the field. And Bruce, as we know, no biscuit, no risk it. He likes five offensive linemen. Like, doesn't care if his quarterbacks are getting destroyed by the defensive line. He wants 5 offensive linemen, and he wants as many wide receivers and tight ends. Well, not even really tight ends because he doesn't really use tight ends. Wide receivers going down the field, making plays, and he wants those deep shots. And I don't know how it's going to work. I think when you're a coach and you get a player the caliber of Tom Brady, like you have to change you got to change your game. Like you have to be adaptable to the talent that you have. We'll see, but also too, I could see, sometimes coaches, like the perfect example is, Kyle Shanahan. He was not scared when he came in, when the 49ers came in, he attacked the hell out of the Saints secondary.
Yeah.
And even then we felt like the secondary was a strength. And he was like, nah, I got something for you.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see if Arians has that same type of approach, because I could see both Arians and Peyton thinking, I like our matchups against their secondary, and them try to come out and attack each other's secondary, and basically it's just going to come to which offensive line's better. And I know it's okay. This is going to be redundant to say. So this is our first week 1 preview. The topic of which offensive line is going to be better is going to be a recurring trend in these previews, because it's so rudimentary and elementary, but it's just the key to football. Like, it really is. So I don't want people listening to our podcast and they're like, oh, these niggas are bringing up offensive line again. Like, tell me something new. Well, It's important.
It's the engine of the team, man. Like, it just is.
But
and,
I will,
yeah.
I will say that I do think, and we've talked about it before, Malcolm Jenkins being back there and communicating. I wonder if those, speaking of the Tampa Bay game that me and you were at, there were so many coverage busts. Like,
Oh, yeah.
the Deshaun Jackson, like, there were so many, bro. And, like, players come off the field talking to each other, like, oh, that was your responsibility. Oh, you should have dropped, blah, blah, whatever it is. The fact that Jenkins is back there and can say prior to a snap, like, listen, you got this, I got this, blah, 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 whatever it is. That, I think that could be so huge and crucial for the secondary, not just in week one, but all the, for the rest of the season. But let me ask you this. The Zach Bond got picked in the third round. The good news is he was not on the injury report. So after he got dinged up chasing Taysom, he may have pulled something. We don't know what it is, but he practiced fully today, which is great. So if Marcus isn't able to play, having Bond on the field, and even if it's on third downs, a rush situation, you putting him on the edge or whatever, and he's just coming and trying to sack the quarterback, I think that's great, and he's a chess piece. But the fact that Caden Ellis, and who knows, the depth chart may not mean anything, but he's a starting strong side linebacker. He's a Sam.
Yeah.
That's what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when he played last year in the preseason, he showed a lot. Like, I was expecting him to make the team, and then he got hurt. So it didn't shock me that he made the team. And, if he, I don't know how true the depth chart is, you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt.
Yes.
But, if he's making the start, that means he really showed something in camp, which, wouldn't surprise me. He was a pretty good player. But at the Sam position, that's kind of like that TL position from a few years ago. You won't see the field a lot if he's just a Sam.
Right.
It's really going to be a base look, and that's probably 20-30% of the snaps. So I wouldn't expect to see a ton of him, but I think you're going to see him on the field. And with Bond, I just don't know. I'm just so interested to see how he's used. I don't know where they're going to use him. Is he going to be like a fifth rusher? But if you have him as a fifth rusher, that affects, how many players you have in the back. I don't know. I just don't know how Bond's going to be used. I really hadn't figured that out yet. I don't know. Like, I don't even have a prediction how he's going to be used. But obviously, to use him as a rusher at some point would make sense, especially considering 2 firsts are going to be out. So you're going to have, my man Big Creek. You're going to have Trigger trade, and then, you can mix it up with Bond. I guess you could roll that route. I don't know, man. That's going to be interesting. My guess is, with Bond, I don't think he's going to see too many snaps on defense. I think he's going to be on special teams, may see a couple snaps on defense. But, as a rookie, I think they're just going to kind of slowly, bring him on toward in the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be fascinating, and I think a point that you brought up that I didn't think about until just now is you're talking about the middle of the field. Do you think that if that's their plan, because we don't know we don't know how Tampa Bay is gonna roll out, but if that's the plan, they're attacking the middle of the field, they're intermediate short routes, and then maybe take a 30, 40 yard pass attempt, blah, blah, blah. But if their plan is the middle of the field, do you feel like that negates Marcus Williams?
In some ways, yes.
Yeah.
Because, he succeeds in going and using his range.
Yes.
Sideline to sideline deep. Like that, that's just where he shines at. He's not a downhill, blow somebody up even though he has done it, I've seen him do it.
Yeah.
I've seen him do it against Tampa Bay. He came downhill and he made an interception, a great interception. I can't remember what season that was.
That was his rookie season.
Was that his rookie season?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
I know. Yeah, I remember exactly what interception you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, he's done it, but I think his game is in the back end and just taking away those deep shots and cleaning up the mess that gets leaked out. I think it's going to very much be a Malcolm Jenkins, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, P.J. Williams game. Like those guys are going to have to be on their P's and Q's, including the outside corners too. But I think the real matchups are going to take place in the middle with the tight ends. It's going to be interesting. Like everybody says, Bruce Arians doesn't really love the tight end position, but this is not really. It's his offense, but you have what's my guy that's running the offense, the former quarterback?
Oh, Brian Leftwich.
Brian Leftwich. It's his scheme for the most part, along with Bruce Arians, and they did bring in Gronk. They didn't sign Gronk and pay him that money for no reason, and they kept on O.J. Howard this year. Britt was already good, so they could run some crazy packages with 2 or 3 tight ends.
Yeah, you said you just read my mind. It wouldn't shock me at all if they turn back time a little bit and run a lot of 13 personnel.
Yeah.
And say listen,
that's hard to deal with.
Yeah, it is. And just say, hey, we got a rookie at right tackle going against Cam Jordan. Let's go 13. And that helps them in the run game. And then, if they get it going in the run game, after that, they can get the play action going. It's such a, and, Greg Cosell talked about this when he came on the pod, one of our first pod episodes. It's such a hard thing for a defense to defend against.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's just so many variables you got to account for. And, look, Leonard Fournette, say what you want about him, but he breaks that first tackle.
Yes.
And he gets steam behind him. He's just hard to break down.
Yes.
He gets moving. His problem is he starts kind of tiptoeing and trying to go sideline and, trying to go lateral. He's getting tackled. But if he can break that first tackle and get that head of steam, he is a load. And he is. So it wouldn't shock me at all if you see I said on the last podcast, if you see an 80-yard, just blown up run out of nowhere, from Leonard Fournette.
The good old Tim Hightower.
Yeah, Tim Hightower. It's okay. You got it in. Good. Good.
I'm excited to see what happens. But also, we'll see, man. It's a great game to be week 1, and obviously, they put it in the late afternoon slot for a reason.
Got my man Aikman and Buck.
Joey Buckets in the house.
That's the 18, baby. It's the 18. Y'all can say what y'all want about them, but that's the 18.
Listen, the way I see it is that if you're a football fan, you want Joey Buckets and Troy Aikman calling your game because that means your team is good.
Right.
They not calling Giants Jets games. They're the 18 for Fox. You want them calling your games. So that means your team is in a lot of high profile, upper echelon games. That's who you want to hear calling your games. Whatever. I don't understand.
And Aikman is, he's good friends with Sean Payton. He has a nice connection with Drew Brees, so he always drops a tidbit here and there.
Yeah, man.
Game that you just don't hear. It's okay, I didn't know that.
I remember, when Taysom, the year he kind of started getting more snaps, the people that was the person that was kind of telling how enamored Sean was with Taysom was Troy.
It was Troy, and everybody was like, "Oh, what's he talking about?" Sean just blowing smoke. Nah, he was dead damn serious.
Yes. So whatever. I know it's weird. It's the whole thing is weird. We didn't touch on it. I don't want to talk about too much about special teams, but it's such a luxury to have Deontay Harris and what he may be able to do. We talked about like this. It had been a trope, like, oh man, our returns suck. Like Drew always got to go 80 yards, 75 yards down the field. Like we never get any drives. Harris, like last year, he put the offense in some insane positions in terms of on the field, and so he could potentially be a factor in that as well.
Absolutely, and that pays huge dividends. So I mean, people just mostly look at kickoff returns that turn into touchdowns, but you got to look at the yards that are gained at a kickoff or a punt return. Like those things, that flips fields around. That's 2 or 3 less first downs you have to get when you have good return. When you have a good return game. And on the flip side, last year they had a pretty good special teams as far as taking away other people's returners.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of just hope that continues. I don't know what secret sauce it was, but it was working. It was the best special teams I've seen the Saints have in forever. So
forever, yes.
That's a major key to the game. Is you might not notice it. It's not something you really pay attention to. Another thing I was wondering about, like my thing has just been in the back of my mind, and Saints, like, they have no control over it, but it's the refs, man. Like every year, after the first game of the season, the main topic is the refs. Like,
yes.
Remember last year they were calling like weird they were hitting the quarterback, and it was saying roughing the passer.
Yep.
There was the whole
the Clay Matthews.
Yeah, the Clay Matthews thing. And that kind of continued. Then you had just kind of the holding. Remember the holding calls from last year that were just like kind of went on all year. Just these ghost holding calls that just completely upset offenses. I'm just praying it's not like that, man, because that just ruins game. Like I don't even. It makes me almost want to turn the game off because you just can't enjoy it.
Yes. And it's something that you've brought up on Twitter, which I think they've been fantastic points, is you got refs who are calling their first games, no preseason, and then they have to also like enforce like new rules that went into effect. But like, when have they really when were they they can go out to like a practice with the team and have the refs there, but like no team scrimmage. So like literally first day on the job, they're officiating the game. As Saints fans, we know how we already feel about referees. Yeah. So I hope it's, and not just for the Saints, but I hope it's not something that throughout all of week one, like, if you're watching Red Zone, like it's just this huge thing of just the refs just, is everything going to be a hold? Is everything, and do you think like something like because there's no fans or less fans depending on the stadium, false starts are going to be the thing of the past?
That's a good point, man, because like there's such a fan impact in those things, and you don't know how much the fans impact those things. Think about the flags that get picked up, where the refs call a flag on something, then it immediately gets replayed in the stadium, and the fans are like, like that's bullshit, and you almost feel like it gives the refs a clue, like, damn, let's take a second look at it, and then they'll pick the flag up, and it's like, oh, okay, that won't be there. It's just gonna be interesting to see how that plays out, and then you got the coaches fussing at the refs, like, are we gonna hear that? I don't know, man. Like, it's gonna be wild, man. Like, I just hope the refs don't impact the game much.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've been watching the NBA playoffs, but there was, I can't remember which playoff game it was where they called basically fouls on on 3-point shots in one of the playoffs games where it was like down to the wire. None of them were. It was the Bucs Heat. I want to say game 3. Yeah, it was Bucs Heat game 3. They call like these fouls that were like obviously not fouls, like, and it almost just ruined the game.
Yeah.
And that's just something that we're not going to know, until we see it. We're not going to know until we see it.
And another thing I'm thinking about is I was listening to Move the Sticks podcast earlier today, and they were talking about the BYU Navy game that happened last night or the night before. And they were talking about how Navy, kind of took the approach this offseason is like, hey, we're not going to do any hitting or, in training camp or nothing like that. We're just going to kind of do our scheme. And, everybody know BYU, they always come out physical. And BYU just steamrolled Navy. Like, it looked like men versus boys. Like, it was just terrible. There was no physicality from Navy. And Navy is usually a pretty physical team, even though they aren't good.
Yes.
So I mean, that's just kind of one of those questions I just have going is like, how physical are these teams going to be? Some teams took the strategy this offseason, this training camp to be like, okay, we're going to ramp up the physicality in the training camp. We're going to have tackling to the ground. Some teams took like the kind of Saints approaches, like, look, we got good players. We ain't trying to hurt nobody. We're going to do pads. We're going to do live, some live sessions, but we're not going to overdo it. And we're going to make sure our team stays healthy. I don't have a problem with really either position. I kind of understand either. I understand both approaches. But it's going to be interesting how that plays out on the field week one. Where you see a lot of soft defenses and guys not really ready to hit and tackle, not having any preseasons, not having any live game reps.
And I think
that's a mentality. When you
for sure,
like you hit somebody, that's really a mentality you have to build up. You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's why the running game may be so important. So we kind of you hit on it with Leonard Fournette, but we've seen, like, if he's healthy and he sounds like he just had like a back flare up. Hopefully, if with the tweets that Adam Schefter sent out yesterday, sounds like the contract extension for the Saints and Alvin Kamara is really close, which is good news. If you're for as a fan, I think that's good news because as Travis has called him, he's a blue chip talent. You don't let blue chip talents leave.
Period.
So from the Saints perspective, if you have AK, he's healthy. We've seen what he can do with his balance. Like, regardless if it's Levante David and Devin White, whoever it is, like, that's a hard man to tackle.
Man,
week one, pandemic.
All Tampa Bay too.
Yeah. Oh, bruh. Week one, pandemic season, like, unusual training camp. You haven't been able to really hit. Like, that's a hard task to say, all right, go cover Alvin Kamara, and also you gotta tackle him. And so I think that point is very salient. Also, that that's a good point too, because both these teams have very physical wide receivers.
Yeah.
Mike Thomas, Mike Evans, if he plays, Chris Godwin, they are physical wide receivers. So, speaking of the whole tackling thing or physicality, it could be a situation where, there's a broken tackle and that's a 40, 50-yard touchdown just because it's being week one and teams aren't used to tackling each other. It's just, it's all fascinating how everything, what may happen.
Yeah, that definitely could be a major key where offenses are just beating up on the defenses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've seen that before. Yeah, that was the lockout season. Yeah, and defenses started out bad.
Bad, bro.
Yeah, so that could definitely be the case, man. So we'll see.
I think it's also it's going to be very interesting to see, like, who's coaching? It's Greg's boy. Not Vance Joseph, the other black one. The stoic one.
Ty Bowles.
Thank you.
The black one.
the stoic one. I think it's going to be very interesting of how because Todd Bowles is an underrated defensive coordinator. Like in the past, he's been able to confuse Peyton at times. Like we've seen it even last season. He's been able to confuse Peyton at times in just terms of like his scheme and what he's able to run, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's just going to be interesting to see like how he attacks the Saints offensively, but more importantly, like secondary wise. Like, you have a very young secondary, and that's not a strength of your team. It's not like this is last season where you can say, okay, we're just going to take Michael Thomas out the game. Like now there's Manny Sanders. And so what do you like? I don't know. Like defensively, I think it's just gonna be very interesting to see what their plan is and how they try to go about stopping the Saints passing game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering what the Saints are going to do. Sean Payton kind of talked about not putting too much out there week one and not trying to overload the players since you got a lot of new guys, not trying to overload them with so much of the different installs on offense. I'm not going to say keep it simple, but just try to do the things they know they can do. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think ultimately the Saints are going to do what they do. Like Drew Brees is going to do what he does, man. Like he's going to hit Mike Thomas a lot. He's going to target Mike Thomas a lot. I hope Jared Cook starts off pretty fast this season.
Yeah, man.
He's going to be huge. And Alvin Kamara, like those are your dogs, man. Roll with your dogs. And all else fails, roll with Kamara, Michael Thomas, and Jared Cook.
Yes.
Like, those are your dogs, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine with them. We'll see what Emmanuel Sanders – he's going to need time. Like, Saints fans, don't trip out if Emmanuel Sanders has 2 catches for, 40 yards. Like, it's okay. Like, don't worry about that. It just takes time to build those things. But I'm sure he's going to come in, and do his thing. And old Traquan, we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I'm sure they're going to have something cooked up. Like, first game, going to have something cooked up with Taysom. Who knows what it'll be? It might be a pass to Taysom. It might be a pass from Taysom. It might be, like a quarterback run or something. But, something's going to cook, man.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, we'll see what happens. It's good. I mean, as many bases as we could have covered, I think we covered them. But yeah, it's funny because it wouldn't shock me at all if 2 Furs doesn't play. Freaking hashtag big creep season out there at left tackle, man. I just
Big creep get 2 sacks out here. You heard me?
Why did he pick 96 as his number?
I don't know. It's a terrible number.
Like it just not.
It's ugly. Like nobody 96, bro. 69 big.
Yeah, that's exactly. So that I think we covered everything we could possibly cover regarding week one.
Any other games kind of interest you this week one? Like anything?
I mean, I haven't. It's so crazy. I really haven't even looked at like what's on deck. I will say that I am interested to see because the Raiders drafted 2 wide receivers that I would like. Obviously, Henry Ruggs. Everyone wanted Henry Ruggs, but when I watched a couple of games of Bryan Edwards, there were some games where it's like, oh, damn, like, huh? And it sounds like they're both going to be starting, for the Raiders week one. And I'm just, I'm excited to see how are they going to be? You got Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I want to see how Burrow does.
He might be running for his life like he was at LSU, man. But
yeah.
I'm interested to see how he does. We talked about Tannehill. Like, does he come back? Does he come back down to earth? And how is Cam going to look in New England? Like, I know for sure. Like, Josh McDaniels. Like, they're not going in the same offense. Like that. They're not. Wow. So how is that offense going to look? Like, it's I hate that he went to New England, but I understand it. So it's gonna be fast. Like Josh McDaniels is a great offensive coordinator. Like he is not the best head coach, not the best person, but OC wise, he is good at his job. And I think it's gonna be interesting to see how he forms an offense around Cam.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. Like just seeing Cam Newton in another uniform. Just I don't know. That's gonna be interesting. You know, like that's gonna be fun.
And then also like this is like more like kind of being like a dick, but like how bad can the Jets really be? It's watching like a snuff film, like Faces of Death. Like, how bad is it going to get? Like, can someone say my boy Sam Darnold? Like, I just send him somewhere, please.
Man.
And another point is like, I know he won MVP, but can Lamar take it to the next level? I think it's a fair question to ask.
Yeah.
Can he take it to the next level?
And it's crazy you're asking that about an MVP though.
Right? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. But it's like it's real. It's like because they brought that up on the Move the Sticks podcast. With these contracts, with Watson getting paid and Mahomes getting paid, Lamar up next. And it's like, how do you approach that? Because he's different than all of them. Like he's different because Watson, even though he does run and move, he's part of that new school of guys that run to pass. He's still a passer, and Mahomes is a passer. Lamar is he's better than Vic, but he's in that vein of he's a runner. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He's a developing passer and getting better. He's getting better every year. But how do you approach that? I guess, I wonder if they're really looking at this year to see if he elevates it another notch or two as a passer, because you can't run like that. Like he does, you can't do that and sustain that for, would you pay a guy like Lamar a 5-year deal, 6-year deal, $40 million a year? You know what I'm saying? And he's getting the hits he's taking. He's been healthy. He's been durable and all that stuff. But, man, that shit adds up over time. So would you pay a guy like that, or do you want to see him become more of a not so much a pocket passer, but more like Russell Wilson, to where you manage your playmaking? Like, okay, I'm gonna work the pocket for the first 2-3 quarters, but fourth quarter I'm wilding out. You know what I'm saying? I think you want to see more of that from Lamar Jackson. So it's just going to be interesting just, to see how he develops, because he's smart. He's like, he wants to be better. He wants to be a better passer. So, but, the weapons, are they really there? It's just a lot to it, So that's interesting.
It is. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to picture the league in general and just think of another thing that the media like rise their dick all the time, but like I don't know what it is, but like I don't buy the cult hype. Like every year they get hyped, every year don't buy it. I don't know what it is. I just don't buy it.
Don't buy it. And you know what? I actually do like the team for the most part. At least on offense. The defense, Drew Brees tore that defense. Yeah, he tore their asshole open, bro.
Long dick all night.
Drew Brees had them, man, like it was nasty. And, I think they improved a little bit, but it's not like they improved that much. And I'm sorry, man. Phillip Rivers, like, I respect the dude, but he had bad tape last year. Like, it wasn't like Tom Brady, like, oh, maybe he needs a wide receiver here and there. It was, what are you doing, man? Like, you are losing your team right now. So,
bro, it was.
And people blame it on the offensive line. Oh, he had a bad offensive line. Like, a lot of teams have a bad offensive line. His was bad, and maybe that is the case, but I don't know, man. He could be a sour lemon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like me and Greg. Like I talked about this with Greg Rosenthal, he was kind of taking up for Rivers. Man, Rivers looked bad. He just call it like it is. He looked real bad last season.
Take offensive line out of it. Like, just watch the decision he's making.
They were not good.
With throwing lanes, they were bad decisions.
Yes, they were not good at all. So will they be able to live up to expectation? Because people are putting them like third-ish in the AFC. And
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know about that. What else? Like, I just think it's all fascinating. Cowboys, the number one team I hate the most, but
yeah,
they are super ridiculously talented. So is Mike the stack? Is Mike McCarthy going to?
They even brought Randy Gregory back, man.
Bro, like, imagine, getting we can't get another pass rusher. They get a pass rusher coming back from suspension. Randy Gregory. Oh, I must have missed that. Randy Gregory.
Give him an extension.
Randy Gregory. Who's the Boise State guy? I'm completely blanking on him. That gave Ramchek the business.
Oh, Everson Griffin?
No. Well, him too, but the other one, DeMarcus Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence, yeah, okay.
So DeMarcus Lawrence, Everson Griffin, Randy Gregory, Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, Sean Lee's already on IR, which surprises no one. The only weakness they have, in theory, is their secondary, but they're stacked, bro.
It's not like a bad secondary; it's just a young, unexperienced secondary.
Is Mike McCarthy going to be able to, bring them to where they should be? As a Cowboys hater, I'm hoping not, but we'll see. And plus, Zach is playing on a franchise tag, so if he plays well, that number's only going to go up.
Man, they're regretting that, man.
Woo!
Man, they should have got that done because Watson got 39.
Mahomes is at 45.
Mahomes at 45. That gonna get. I remember at first when he first refused the contract, and it was saying Dak wants up,
40,
35. Yeah, 40 million. Everybody was like, "Wow."
Yeah, we're like, nigga, if you don't take that money,
take that money, boy. Shit, he's gonna see for it. He's gonna see it. He's going to get 40 plus million.
If he plays,
I don't know.
If he plays well, just decently well, doesn't get hurt, they have a successful season. Yeah, Jerry and them will show that they bungled that completely.
Yeah, they messed that one up.
But I mean, it's so many interesting storylines in the NFL. It's so many. How long is it going to be before we see Tua in Miami? Or, Patrick Clayball's already said it, but it wouldn't shock him if, Tyrod Taylor starts the whole season for the Chargers.
Ew. But then, Justin Herbert is like, yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see why you would say that. And then, before wrapping this up, as the season is set to start, I think the trade market we talked about before this upcoming draft, unless you start off 0-5, 0-6, and more likely you might get a high pick to maybe draft a Jamar Chase or the stud left tackle that just declared from Oregon, or maybe be in the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes. If you are in the hunt or in the race, a contender, man, them draft picks are going to go by.
Saints second round pick is
for sale.
Smoking. It's sitting in Loomis' wallet and it's hot. He can't wait.
Just ready to just get rid of it. So I think the trade market, because every year when as the season goes on, you have teams that are doing just shitty. And so then you hear everyone's up. Everyone's can be. You can get a player or whatever. Wouldn't shock me at all. Would not shock me at all. Just not the Saints, but I'm just saying just good teams in general. And then it sucks that Von Miller potentially out for the season with a freak injury, and that's and I don't know if we're going to see a lot a lot more injuries just because of, COVID and, everything that's happened. And I hope not, because because you had to call this out. Can we stop with this whole, I wish that X player was healthy because I don't want to hear excuses from that fan base if we beat them? Can we stop with that?
Please stop.
That is the most outlandish, just dumb ass fuckery that I've ever heard. Do you know how hard it is to win a game in the NFL? Like,
I don't
if you don't stack these dubs and take these wins when you can,
ain't nobody care about the Saints when they limping into the post.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I don't.
But
care.
if it's us in the Super Bowl and the team we're playing are missing 20 starters due to a COVID outbreak, do you think if we win the Lombardi, I'll be like, oh man, I really wish those Chiefs would have been at full strength. Shut the fuck up. Stop it.
Please stop.
But we're gonna get out of here. We feel like we've been talking forever, but I mean that's how it happens sometimes when we start talking about football. But week 1, it's upon us. We'll do we'll be doing a recap show probably Monday, Tuesday to recap week. Obviously recap week 1 Saints and maybe touch on other things that we saw during week 1 around the league, and then we have a special non-football related podcast that we're recording tomorrow. So I'm still keeping the guests a secret of who it is. But I'm excited for it. Something very different, but something that Ryan and I have been wanting to do for a long time in terms of broadening the scope of the podcast and just talking about other things not related to football. It wouldn't shock me that if we indulge you, encourage you to listen to tomorrow's episode, even if you just come here for football banter conversation. We want you to listen to tomorrow's episode because I'm excited for it. So I think everyone's going to gain something and learn something from it. So, did you have anything else?
No, that's it, man. Go to Apple Podcasts. Give us some 5 stars. Leave a comment. Try to read us high. Go on Patreon.com. Search hashtag SaintsTwitterPod. Become a Patreon if you can. Contribute what you can. Other than that, man, just showing love and let's get the season started, bro.
Let's go. The darkness is upon us now. We can't escape it. Have the memes and the very conflicted, my favorite emoji ready, handy when that's what it is, man. It's Saints football time. It's just that's the sound. Like when people like Bree saying like I'm letting it loose. I was like, but I mean it's fun, man. It's exciting. It's good to be talking about football again, and we'll see how it all plays out. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode. We're recording tomorrow, and then we probably be posted on Friday, and then yeah, man, we'll be back next week. We're recapping week 1 and going from there.
That's right, baby.
All right, with that, we're out.
Peace.
Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code Hawkeye and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. When you register with BetMGM, you'll get instant access to a variety of parlay selection features, live betting options, and the best daily promotions in the business. And with BetMGM at your fingertips, every play and every game matters more than ever. Remember to use code Hawkeye and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Place your money line, prop, or parlay bets with the king of sportsbooks today. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. Iowa only. New customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Baker's, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Baker's worth it every time. Baker's, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.